My hand color is like different from my face, which I guess is a testament to my foundation. Really canceled out the redness. Slay. Today I thought I would do every book I've read so far in 2025 from the spring. The first book I finished in April was Howl's Moving Castle, which people in my general age range, we've probably all seen Howl's Moving Castle, the Miyazaki movie, but I had never read the book before, which came out in the 80s, I think. I really liked it. I gave it 4.25 stars, which, as I'm now thinking back, I'm like, maybe I should have given it a higher rating, but these are all in relation to books that I've read before. This was for a part of a challenge where it was a book whose TV or movie adaptation you really liked, and I really liked this movie. Reading the book, I found it really similar in terms of energy and vibes. What else did I say? Cozy setting, great cast of characters, and a heartwarming conclusion. There is something in this book, which if you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but there is a very bizarre inclusion of like Hal's origin story, which does not come up in the Miyazaki film at all. But I found that so unexpected and kind of tonally hard to put in my brain. But nevertheless, I still enjoyed it and it was similar energy to the movie. So if you like the movie, I would recommend this book. It was very cute, very like a PG romance. And I enjoyed it. 4.25 stars. Oh, I also said it would be super fun to read out loud with older elementary kids, like, I don't know, anywhere like third grade, fourth grade. If anyone is reading to children in their life, that would be super fun. I would recommend that book. The next book I read was a book of poems, Felicity, which is a collection by Mary Oliver. It was my first collection of Mary Oliver poems. She's very well known for the Wild Geese poem. I feel like all the online people, all the online girlies are quoting Mary Oliver's Wild Geese all the time. And I'm going to be honest, my expectations were very high. Maybe this was the wrong collection of hers to start with. I don't know what I was expecting, I guess, but I guess I was expecting like the top notch, like, yes, of wild geese in each poem. And some of them I enjoyed, some of them I was a little confused. I don't know. I think everybody just hypes Mary Oliver up, and we got to stop doing that because then people's expectations are very high. If you have a better collection of Mary Oliver poems that you would recommend, I might try to reread it again. I wasn't really sure what to give it rating wise. I feel like in my brain right now, I'm like leaning in like the 3 zone, which feels rude to say about Mary Oliver. I'll try to read it again because I do own it, but I was disappointed. The next book is Eva Luna by Isabel Allendale, which I finally got around to reading this year. I had it on my list of books to read last year because the country Chile was part of Storygraph Reads the World 2024 challenge, which I did not finish, but it did introduce me to this book. I gave it 4.75, so it was almost a 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit pulpier than I expected it to be. I don't know why, but I had the impression that it was going to be like really intense literary fiction. I guess I wasn't expecting there to be like a real active story that starts happening. Like, I feel like a lot of literary fiction is just kind of vibes, or like my impression of the book was that we're going to be following this girl, Eva Luna, as she grows up. And we did follow her. But then there was like some espionage happening, which felt very unexpected. Then she meets like some characters, which I don't know. I'm not saying you can't have a story of someone's life that also has a bit of a story in it, but it's not usually the way things unfold. Like, life is kind of messy. Like, Eva Luna is kind of like involved in some countercultural revolutionary things that are happening. So there's a big thing that they're planning to do, like a big event, a big upset that will cause some uproar. And it was very strange to me how the last part of the book kind of felt like more cinematic and like more Hollywood than I was thinking it would be, which not a bad thing. I gave it 4.75, but if you had told me when I first started reading it that it was going to have the tone it had at the end, I don't think I would have believed you because it's like we're following this girl growing up, going to different houses as she's like living in different places and with different authority figures in her life. So I was kind of geared up for this following a story of a girl as she grows up. And then as she becomes a young adult, she gets involved in this like countercultural, activisty, maybe illegal thing that they're doing. It felt like it turned into like a Hollywood movie about that event or like I don't know, it was just strange. And like maybe is this some kind of other commentary about how the personal is political? I don't really know a lot about Chilean history, but it seems like there have been coups d'etats and people overthrowing governments and things. The reason it was almost 5 stars was that I felt really pulled through reading it. There were a few disappointing things that kind of knocked it down 0.25 stars. I think I wanted either to go like fully deep into the characters or stay more removed, and it felt kind of like the story was doing something in between that, some other third thing. But I think I would read more books by Isabel Allendale. So, okay, the next book that I read was a book club pick for April, I want to say. It was The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. And I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. I opened up my book journal and started journaling about all the themes. And I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't historical fiction set in post Arthurian England. I don't think I really knew that much about Ishiguro in general. Like, I knew he was British, but I didn't know what he mainly wrote about. And I heard that this book is super different from his other books, so maybe this is his only historical fiction. But I love historical fiction. So I was so excited once I realized what it was. I was like, oh, this is why I'm enjoying it. Whereas people in my book club did not really like it. I think people were disappointed from being fans of his other things, his other books. This is very different. So I don't know if I'm going to like his other books, but I really liked this one. Yeah, I think someone in my book club said that this is his worst book, which is crazy because I really liked it. So that either means I'm going to really hate the other books or it's just going to be a totally different experience. There was like a few things I didn't like, but obviously not that much because I gave it 5 stars. There's like the main characters, they call each other pet names, which is kind of annoying. Or the husband does to the wife. Which, let me tell you what it's about. In post-Arthurian Britain, the wars that once raged between the Saxons and the Britons have finally ceased. Axel and Beatrice, an elderly British couple, set off to visit their son, whom they haven't seen in years. And because a strange mist has caused mass amnesia throughout the land, they can scarcely remember anything about him. The Buried Giant is a luminous meditation on the act of forgetting and the power of memory. Those were the themes that I was excited about. Forgetting and remembering things, the past becoming the present becoming the past. I'm in. That's for me. Let me read some of these themes I got really excited about. How does hatred begin? Whomst among us is the foreigner? Relevant to me as I am living as a foreigner in a nation that is not my own. Should the past stay buried? Do we have to unbury things? Also, monks and Masochism? How do you say that?
Masochism.
Masochism. Interesting. I would not have said it that way. Yeah, monks and masochism? Question mark. I thought the story like wrapped together so well though. And 5 stars. I'm still remembering it right now as I'm talking about it. I read it months ago, which means it was a good book. He got the Nobel Prize in Literature. I don't know who's on the Nobel Prize in Literature committee, but there's something we share. It's probably just that I like the books that they pick. The next book is not a Nobel Prize in Literature winner, But you know what? Still great. 4.5 stars. Today, tonight, tomorrow. YA Romance by Rachel Lynn Solomon. It was so cute. It captured high school so well. It's about this girl. She wants to be valedictorian. I'll read the summary. It's the last day of senior year. Rowan Roth and Neil McNair have been bitter rivals for all of high school. She'd love to beat her infuriating nemesis one last time. You can see it's an enemies to lovers. I feel like this captured my nerd high school experience of like the last days of high school and kind of feeling things wrap up, and these people who we've been together for our childhood, we're now kind of going separate directions, and for a lot of us that means we won't really see each other anymore. Just like thinking about that really big chapter ending in life. I was already out of college when this book came out. I think it's from 2020. I graduated high school in 2015. So that makes me think either some things are universal or the author was also a nerd who graduated high school in 2015 or the 2010s. I've never been to Seattle. This takes place in Seattle. But now I know from this book that there's a really big wall of chewing gum. And I didn't know that before, and I feel like I could have lived my whole life without knowing that. So, yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. There's a sequel where they go off to college and like now they're dating, but I'm kind of like, once you get to college, you break up with the boyfriend, you know? So, the next book, the Wren by Anne Einright, who I believe she is an Irish writer because this book takes place in Ireland and the characters are Irish. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I took a bunch of pics of my e-reader because I borrowed it from Libby, and when you save things from Libby books on your e-reader, they get deleted off your e-reader. So I should have just bought a copy or bought the ebook, but I didn't know I was going to like it that much when I started reading it. But yeah, this got me back to the book journal. I really enjoyed it. I think it was more of an emotional 5 star, not like a technical 5 star from like a technical standpoint. But I gave it 5 stars because it made me want to write an essay, which is crazy because I've famously said I never want to write an essay again. So just for bringing back the joy of having those synapses connecting and neurons firing, I gave it 5 stars. It is about a woman and her mother and the kind of looming ghost of the mother's father. So the girl's grandfather. They each kind of get point of views, and the book summary says it is a meditation on love, a generational saga that traces the inheritance not just of trauma, but also of wonder. Above all, it is an exploration of the love between a mother and daughter, sometimes fierce, often painful, but always transcendent. It was also so funny. There's like a couple parts that I highlighted just because I thought they were so funny. There's one that I'm going to ruin by quoting from memory. It's Nell, who's the youngest person we're following, the daughter. And there's a guy she has like a situationship with. He comes over and he like makes fun of her for not having a TV. And she says, "What am I, a family unit?" And I thought that was funny. I like this book. 5 stars. Then I read The Emotional Incest Syndrome. This was from like the 90s, maybe 1990. It's just interesting to see how people used to and professionals used to think about this topic that I think has more contemporarily come to be known as like emotional immaturity and like enmeshment in families. The word that this psychologist, Patricia Love, uses is emotional incest, which is like very evocative, and I think for a lot of people kind of brings up really negative feelings, obviously, because that's a very intense word to use to describe a relationship. But yeah, I think it was a pretty good read, but I don't think it's like the only book or like the book I would recommend somebody read on toxic family systems or emotional enmeshment in families. There are like more contemporary books. I'm thinking of like Emotionally Immature Parents by Lindsay C. Gibson. That's a banger. And it like kind of speaks to the ways we think about those relationships now as a society. Like as time progresses, usually the way that we talk about things as a society also kind of changes. So like there's one thing, there was like a recommendation that the adult child should say, oh, I was a really difficult child to raise, which for me, I feel like that plays into abusive ways of thinking. Like an abusive mindset is when somebody thinks they are entitled to something, so it doesn't matter how they behave. So if somebody is entitled to have a child who is easy to raise or a delight to be around, it doesn't matter how they treat that child, if that makes sense. I didn't love that. It kind of felt like it was enabling abusive ways of thinking about things. But again, written in 1990. Also, I don't know how much like different disciplines have been like talking to each other. Like I personally learned that understanding of abuse from the book Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft, which is about mostly about heterosexual domestic violence perpetrated by men towards women. So maybe it's more of like an interdisciplinary or like a cross specialty thing. I don't know. Maybe Dr. Lindsay Gibson, who wrote Emotionally Immature Parents, maybe she would disagree with me. Dr. Lindsay C. Gibson, if you're watching this, I'd love to talk to you. Reach out. But yeah, I mean, I don't think this is the only book you should read on this topic if you're interested in it. There's other books that would probably be more worth your time, but if you really want to read everything on the topic of emotional incest or like enmeshment, it might be worthwhile for you to read it. Next, I have Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed, which I only gave 3 stars. I remember I listened to Cheryl Strayed and Steve Almond, who both used to write the advice column Dear Sugar. And I think I talked about this in the video, the mid-year freakout tag that I posted like a few weeks ago, which is not in the middle of the year. I talked about how this was my biggest disappointment. And then I used to listen to this podcast when it was still in production and I really liked it, but I don't know if just this book being from like 2012, the tone is just like not matching the vibe for 2025. But I mean, she's writing as a character, the character of Sugar, who is like this wise woman who's been through it and can tell you what you need to hear. So yeah, maybe I just respond better to Cheryl Strayed as a person and not the character that she's playing of Sugar. If you've been wanting to read this, but you're not like married to the idea of having to get it off your list, I would say there's probably more nuanced books that kind of put things in context more better. More better? I don't think it's a bad book. It captures the moments in time in which the advice was written. 2012 was, yeah, Jesus, 12 years ago. Kind of like we could have a whole elementary aged child in that time. So there are probably more contemporary things that would feel more resonant, perhaps. At least that's how I felt. Okay, I have 2 more left. The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. I gave this four stars. I had a nice fun time, which is an interesting thing to say because it is a book about ending your own life. The writing, I wasn't crazy about the writing. It was in present tense, like this. It feels real. It felt very like a contemporary novel. Like, this is a Jenna's book club pick. I said, like a pastel quote on Pinterest, whose form or style almost makes me overlook it, but I'm glad I didn't. Because there was a nice little cast of characters, a bit of romance, the power of friendship, all those things. It all took place in a bougie hotel, so it was fun. I have the disease where I'm like, I'm not like other girls, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I'm not gonna say I 100% support their business practices. but like, a Starbucks beverage, enjoyable. Highlights in your hair, they look great. So yeah, a Jenna's book club pick, which I think Jenna is like a morning show person. So that's the kind of energy. It's morning person talk show book club, but it was fun. And the last book, Crying in H Mart, which is Michelle Zauner, aka Japanese Breakfast. It's her memoir of her relationship with her mom and losing her mom to cancer. I gave it 4.75 stars because there was just something keeping it from 5 stars for me, which maybe had to do with me losing momentum as I read because this was a book club pick and I was speeding through it at the end, and then I only got to like 95% of the way through the audiobook before I had to go to book club. So then it was kind of a slog to pick it up after that. It felt a bit long, which again, maybe because I was speeding through it with a book club deadline. Maybe it's better to like read a book and kind of digest it before you discuss it with people. Michelle Zauner is such a good writer. It was a great audiobook. I really liked hearing her read it because there were like parts, like after her mom passes away, her and her dad go on vacation. There's a part where she like quotes what her dad had been saying, and in the writing, you don't get this, but from how she reads her dad's quote, you really get the inflection and like her point of view of how he was talking to this waitress. She has a great voice, also, just like a speaking voice. She's also a singer, but I like listening to her speaking voice. I'll try to include some screenshots because as I was going to Storygraph to post my own review, I saw some people who just like did not know what a memoir was. And I just thought it was really funny, so I'm going to share those screenshots with you. But yeah, I would go back and fight Michelle's mom. I know she died of cancer and like Michelle feels a lot of things for her mom, but like I don't care. She's not my mom. I'll fight her. Michelle's honors creative writing degree was 100% worth it because even though she's a musician, this memoir, excellent writing. And I would read more from her. I don't know if she's writing other things, but whatever it is, I'll read it. And that's the end of May. I feel really wonky. It might be because I didn't eat any vegetables today. So I hope my lack of vegetables didn't mean my presentation was bad. And if it did, I hope you can ignore that and write a nice comment and like the video and subscribe. And you will get me one subscriber closer to my dream, which is to have 20 subscribers. I don't have a cool outro. Okay, bye.